Today, we have with us Nell Madigan from the School of Labor and Employer Relations, here to talk to you about personal branding. So let's welcome Nell.
Thank you. Okay, I think you guys can all hear me without a microphone. Is that correct? Okay, I'm getting thumbs up. Just for my own knowledge, I'm kind of curious, how many of you guys are undergrads? Okay, grad students? Any? We don't have one. What's mine's here? Okay. Engineering? Here? Business? HR? One? Yeah, raise your hand. There she is. Are you an undergrad in HR? You're Yay. Well, welcome. You'll be hearing this again in August, so drink it in. What else do we have? LAS? Okay, so kind of from there, just a little bit of a smattering. All right, perfect. So I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Labor and Employment Relations, and we are a graduate level HR program, 3 semesters. They've given me the floor, so I'm going to do a shameless plug. We have 2 folks here that you're welcome to ask questions about the application process and about the program. But it's a 3-semester HR program, and our students go to work for companies like Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, General Mills, Boeing, Cummins, doing HR. It used to be that everybody wanted to dress nicely, carry their Prada bag, work in corporate. And now all of my students want to get out in the field and do frontline HR face-to-face with employees. And so I think that that's been very exciting for them. And if they're not in a plant setting over the summer, they come back kind of mad and jealous of their fellow students that work. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, ask some questions, and you're welcome to get a hold of me. Jenny Kim knows where to find me, and I'd be happy to talk to you guys about it. Our students, by the way, our domestic students anyway, are, after a 3-semester grad program, are making about $80,000 a year. So if you weren't listening before, maybe you're listening now. I know it's a little hard to see without all the natural light, but basically what I want to talk to you guys about today, and we'll probably go over time about a half an hour since food was a little bit late, thinking about your personal brand. Because we know if you're here at the U of I, if you're an engineer, if you're in business, whatever your major may be, you know you're going to be among the best graduates on the market. And you're going to have some of the best knowledge in your subject area of a lot of the candidates on the market, right? But the thing that sets people apart when you go into an interview are all of those soft skills, and building your own personal brand is really part of that. That's what's going to give you credibility going out into the marketplace. And you can do that online with with LinkedIn. You can do that in the workplace. You can do that in your interpersonal communications. You can do that in the classroom. But everything that you do is going to lead towards building that brand. And it's everything. Like if I talk to you about what have you done to get ready to interview for your job, you're like, well, I have a suit and I have my resume, so I'm good to go, right? This is actually taking a step back from that and thinking about all the things that come before. And a lot of this you've already done, but it's just a question of being more purposeful about it. And it's everything from thinking about what you like to do day to day. Are you just sitting at a desk here? Are you crunching numbers? Are you creating a widget? Are you, running around and doing something new and different every day? What is it that lights a fire in your belly and allows you to excel in the workplace? Okay, so think about this for a minute. This is really kind of a gimme, and I should really start using a different logo, but this is so easy that I just leave it there. And there are some jokes associated with this, right? We used to be able to talk about Tiger Woods. That doesn't happen now. But if you look at that swoosh, it brings a number of things to mind, right? The quality of the product, the fact that just do it, right? You're going out, you're excelling at a sport, maybe. It does, the product has unique features. You know what the packaging looks like. Everything that goes with that brand, you can kind of conjure up just in a moment just by seeing that. Now, when you develop your personal brand, it's not going to be quite as impactful with one glance looking at one symbol, but if people hear your name and they see the types of things that you're associated with, they should be able to pull up some of these same attributes. And so we'll move forward. If you, I don't know what that, okay. So think about what makes these brands great. These are all brands that recruit at LER. We have Kellogg's, we have Pepsi, GE, Tide, Cheerios. Thinking back to Nike, these brands are great because you can look at them without even seeing the name and know what product this is and know things associated with the product. And these companies are going to have the ability, like Nike, like Pepsi, to take a challenge and to take a risk and not damage their brand too badly. Right? Some would say by putting all of their, faith behind a spokesperson, like a Tiger Woods, you might, okay, have made some bad decisions. They're still able to stay behind him and to advance their brand, even though he's kind of wandered off into the ditch a couple times and he's not really at the top of his game right now. Pepsi. And I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember this, but once, and they may be trying it again, Pepsi tried Pepsi Clear. Yeah, it was gross because when you look, it's like green ketchup. You're like, this just isn't what it's supposed to taste like in my mouth. Pepsi Clear was kind of the same thing. Didn't really work. New Coke also didn't really work. But those brands are so big and so established that you're able to overlook that and still understand the core values of the brand. GE, that brand has tremendous reach. So if you think back, and this would be something that you don't remember, but 9/11, when that happened, GE got a new CEO named Jeff Elmer, and he watched on GE's television station, they owned NBC at the time, they don't anymore, while planes powered by GE engines crashed into buildings that were financed by the GE finance. That's a lot of brand reach in one situation. But they're everywhere. They had at the time a plastics division. They still, they just sold off appliances. They have power and oil. GE has a tremendous brand. And then we could go on, but we're short on time today. If you think about General Mills and Procter & Gamble, Procter & Gamble, do you remember their whole branding for the Olympics? You tear up a little bit when you say it. It's like, thanks, Mom. And you're like, oh, this is so wonderful. But that's their brand. They're very family-oriented. It's a very family culture. So these are just some of the things that go into that recognizable brand. And obviously, you're not going to have those same attributes, but these are the things that you should be thinking about when you are considering your own brand. This slide, for any of you that ever took BA 210, the marketing class, you memorized this for probably the first test and you promptly forgot it, would be my guess. Your USP, unique selling proposition. When you are going to write your resume, to go into an interview, to do just a fast networking blurb, like the elevator speech with an employer, you want to be sure that you're giving them your benefit, so what benefit you bring to the table. Make sure that it's unique and make sure it's compelling. Now, when you're on campus with over 40,000 students, your ability to be truly unique in an impactful way for an employer is a little bit tough. Think about our program. If we have 80 incoming HR students that are all at the top of their game academically, they're all in this very homogeneous program. They're all going to do masters in HR. They're all, interested in these corporate jobs. There are a lot of things that are the same. But then they need to think about what makes them unique. We have, students from China who have that background, who have a different global perspective. We have students who, instead of the traditional psychology business background, may have an engineering background, so they could go work out on the line and speak to the engineers in a language that's shared. So unique doesn't have to mean reinventing the wheel, but what is it about you? What is it that you are bringing to the table that sets you apart from most of your classmates? And for us, saying things like, oh, well, I'm a great communicator, or I really love people, that doesn't really do it. What are the other things? Have you, in your internship this summer, learned how to train other employees? You know, what are the things that set you apart? And it needs to be compelling. Like maybe you can juggle and no one else in your class can. The employer probably doesn't care. So what is it that you've done? Has it been global travel? Has it been leading a team? Has it been volunteer work? What is it that's going to be compelling that, you know, spurs that employer to action to look at you a little bit more seriously? Now, this is, you're going to find people who say both. I advocate for my students to use a personal profile on their resume because, again, it's a small group, it's a homogeneous group. This is the tagline for the rest of their ad on that resume. It doesn't work for everybody, it doesn't work for every major, so I'm just giving the caveat. Your career services director in your career office might say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It works for us. We have almost 100% placement, so just throwing that out there. This one is actually mine. There are probably those that would argue the highly confident, but you know, we're going to leave it on there, see if we can fool. Confident and enthusiastic leader, extensive experience in project management and administration, strategic planning, corporate relations, career services, alumni relations, in an academic setting. So I'm laying out the things that I'm going to support down farther in the resume, and whatever you say up here has to be supported. So if I'm working with the higher Illini team of career services folks, I have examples for leading projects and managing projects with that. Right now, even though I am the corporate relations person for our office, I'm leading a $6 million building addition. Didn't think I'd be doing that, but that's one of those things. So I can pick out things on my resume and map them all to these different attributes that I'm calling out. So you have to decide what that would be for you. But again, this is the tagline. My master's degree is in advertising, so I talk about advertising a lot. This is the tagline for your ad, and that resume is going to be an ad for you. Similarly, when you're in an interview or when you're doing these little elevator speeches, you want to pull out the most important pieces of this so that when they meet you, if they meet you at a career fair, if they meet you on the elevator, if they meet you on an airplane, and then they have you in an interview and they read your resume, they are getting pieces of your brand reinforced throughout. So this was one of my students. He actually, have any of you ever detasseled corn before? One, worst job in the world, but you make a lot of money doing it. That's fair, right? Yesterday would have been the perfect day. Like there was a breeze, it was nice, you might not have died from all the bug bites, but most of the summer, this particular guy started his own detasseling business, and he really wasn't selling it on his resume. He started it with 4 buddies, and he ended up with a number of employees and a payroll in the tens of thousands. And he's like, well, that's just what I did. You know, no big deal. I was like, no, you're an entrepreneur. These are the things that you had to do to set that up. These are the ways that you led your peers. These are the business things that you learned through doing this. He was like, oh, right, okay. So we worked out to this. HR professional, entrepreneurial and management experience, strategic business planning, and implementation of HR strategies as the owner of a successful small business. And what it boiled down to was his dad said, you have to go work. He didn't really want to go find a regular summer job, so he started his own company. And you'll see in a little bit how big it got. We're going to skip the exercise for now and save some time. So, have a brand you want to promote it. Where do you start promoting it? I tell my students, and I give this presentation or a similar presentation in our orientation, this is where you start promoting it. Because even though you guys are all working in different offices, you may be from different majors, right now, you're starting your professional network. And you may realize down the road, you've always wanted to work for Procter & Gamble, and she went to work for Procter & Gamble. Tell me how you made that happen. And if you know that this is somebody who always showed up, who always participated, even if you're not in the same office, you've started to build your brand, right? For my students, when they're in class, I mean, you know who's not going to pull their weight on the stats project, right? And you know who's absolutely going to have all the answers and kind of where you want to hitch your wagon. That's right. We were just talking about the best person in Mia's stats class right before this started. That is something that guy will carry forever, and his classmates are going to know him as someone who's a really serious student, who's very analytical, who can produce at a great level. So you should be visible and known to your classmates and to your fellow interns wherever you work. You never know when a resume is going to come across your desk in your job and the hiring manager says, oh, well, you went to Illinois, do you know this person? And you're like, well, as a matter of fact, I do know this person. Could be a great thing, could be a good piece of information for the hiring manager not to make that hiring decision. So your branding starts now. Seek out mentoring relationships, and it may be, okay, you've realized, hey, maybe this HR thing is for me. I did start in engineering, but I love this. I would love to manage engineers. I would love to make it easier to help them make things. I want to know more about HR. So you would find a mentor in our department or from one of our students. Could be anywhere. It doesn't really have to be someone higher up than you where you work, but who has been where you are now, who might be where you're going, and you can start talking to them now. I think my story for the last one, every interaction is an opportunity. Again, like I said, it could be someone on an airplane. We had someone who graduated with our master's degree and went to work for GE. And the way he got his job with GE, he interviewed on campus and he went out to their Crotonville, the corporate center where they do a lot of their second round interviews. And he got up at one point, he went to use a restroom, and we'll just pretend he was washing his hands. I don't know what was happening at this time. And someone he didn't know walked into the bathroom and was like, oh, I've never met you. Who are you? I don't recognize you. And he was ready, right, with his talk. He was like, okay, this is my name. I'm with the University of Illinois. I'm here for, Fantastic Friday, to preference what business I want to work for. Really excited, this has been a great opportunity. And the guy says, oh, well, what have you learned? What is it that you want to do? And at the time, GE still owned their plastics business. And this particular guy said, well, I think that plastics has impressed me the most, and here's why. Everything's been great, but this is the business where I feel like I fit the best. Come to find out, that guy was the hiring manager for GE Plastics. So guess who got a job with GE Plastics? And it wasn't in a vacuum. He still had to do all the other things and perform in those interviews, but the fact that he was willing to step forward and reinforce his brand in a new way, every interaction is an opportunity for you guys. So, I won't spend much time on this. I think a lot of times, now you guys, you're all aware that iLink is going away at the end of next week, right? iLink is no more. Friday, you're going to be getting a message from the new company that we're going to. If you've heard of a program called Handshake, but it uses artificial intelligence, kind of like LinkedIn or Amazon, to help you search for jobs. So there are more jobs in the system. The jobs that are posted are typically posted across schools, and it's going to say, okay, you've looked at these 3 jobs, so I think here are the 10 other jobs that you would really be interested in. So from that standpoint, I think you're going to love the system. You're not going to be writing a ton of cover letters, but when you do, you want to make it impactful. You want to pull some of those pieces of your brand in. Research the company and figure out, well, this is what I did over the summer. Now I want to go work for Young Brands. And they're this company that owns a few different fast food chains and sponsors the Kentucky Derby. Fun fact. They are really into employee recognition, right? So if you read through that job description and you do a little research on that, you say, well, wait a minute. This is something that I've done. I was a leader for this engineering organization. And so I do have all this education and knowledge in the field of engineering, but I just realized that when I led this group, recognizing my volunteers was incredibly important. So I'm going to tie that all together. The cover letter is where you make that happen. Okay? So you want to tailor it whenever possible. You want to think about their point of view. If employee recognition is really important for this company, how can you pull in that volunteer experience, or for my students, it may be work experience that speaks directly to that, and proofread it. You'd be surprised how many people don't. The biggest mistake I see with cover letters is that you have one, and you go through and you change the name on it. And if you're doing that, you might as well light the thing on fire. Because A, you're going to forget to change the name somewhere on it. And then you're going to tell Procter & Gamble how you've always wanted to work for Pepsi. Oops. I used to work in admissions, and I had a tear file that I was saying, and I was reading applications, and it was always great to say, you know, it's always been my dream to go to Illinois State. And I'd answer, well, here's the email for their admissions office. And I know that wasn't what they meant, but that's a pretty important time to be making a mistake. I would argue for a job, same thing. And if you are writing one letter for everybody, then you're not taking their point of view and speaking to their pain points. And again, infusing that with the aspects of your brand that are going to set you apart. So, resume resources, and I'll give you some examples here. The biggest mistake is that resumes that we see are just lists of tasks that you've done. Task, task, task. What we want are accomplishments. So, you probably haven't been the president of the university yet. You know, you haven't run your own company or all these things. But, so you're an intern, at X company. Don't just tell me what an intern at that company does. Tell me what you did. If I were to ask your supervisor, what would your supervisor say that you did? So some of it's going to be very transactional. I had to do these 5 things every day. But if you're the person who is always willing to step up and take it another step, or if you're the person who knew more about, you know, these statistics and could really give them data about how to improve something, whatever it may be, you want to talk about the accomplishments. If you were working at the desk at the library, how many people in a day do you think you served? Figure that out. Confessions of a Recruiting Director, it's by a guy named Brad Karsh. Very, very easy read, very good samples of resumes. And a book might cost you $9. Usually it's on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. But he has the first half of it, he's just talking about mistakes you can make in the recruiting process, and how to be sure you're knocking it out of the park. The second half, sample resumes, and he kind of takes the bad and then makes it good and focuses less on task and more on accomplishment. The book itself it's like an hour read, but just flipping back to those resumes as samples, I think is outstanding. So I suggest that. Always continue to improve, so go to your career office, go to Jenny, she's good with a resume, you know, have lots of people look at it, because again, like I said, I happen to think that the profile line is important on your resume. There are going to be people on campus who don't think it's important. I think it's foolish if you're recruiting on campus to have the objective statement, because your objective is the same objective as everybody else, right? To get an internship, to get a job. So I think you can do a profile like I showed you, and be sure to call out searching for internship as part of that, just so they make sure you fall into the right pile. But continue to improve that. Continue, and listen, if you talk to 10 people, maybe 3 people tell you never use a profile, maybe 4 people tell you do use a profile, these people say don't use a template. Think about the data that you're given and figure out what's going to work best for you and the industry and function that you're interested in, and proofread it. And this is just my opinion, word templates are the devil. Once you get your data in there, you can never fix it. The bullet points are the worst. You'll just end up wanting to hurt yourself. So I vote no on that. All right, so we're back to my friend Mike White from Muhammad, who used to own the detasseling business. This was his first pass at his resume entry for that. It's not bad. He talks about big companies that he worked for. He talked about 78 students and, you know, the payroll of $52,000, which is pretty impressive for a high school kid, frankly. And this isn't bad, but if you really talk about the accomplishments that he had, and I made this a little bigger so that it was a little bit easier to read, we got the specifics of the businesses. We talked about founding the company with 10 and growing to 78. So it wasn't like he took this over for somebody else. He had, you know, 9 like-minded buddies who really didn't want to go find a different job for the summer. He rounded them up and he managed the crew. And he started with a revenue of $4,000 and grew that revenue to $25,000, which for a high school college student in 2005 was a pretty good hunk of cash at the end of the day. Now, this is a nod towards the HR piece, since my students are HR students, but hiring, retain, which means he had to fire peers, which is a pretty big deal if you're going into any sort of management role. Payroll of $61,000, design and maintain interactive web. So it wasn't just, here are the tasks that our business accomplished, so we'll go back to that. I mean, again, this is okay, and this isn't a resume that I would throw on the burn pile right off the bat. But if you're looking at this, and you're looking at this, where do you really get a feel for his brand? Talking about those accomplishments, okay? So, what time is it, Jenny? 12:40. Okay, so I only have 10 more minutes. I'm going to kind of rush through. Again, if you have questions or you want to go talk about anything else, get my email from Jenny or just look me up, nellm@Illinois. So, informational interviews, phone, you need to know how to handle all of these. Just a fast pass on that. Definitely attend a good interviewing workshop. For phone interviews, which are becoming more prevalent right now, you have to be even more on your game. People are like, I'm wearing sweats, they won't know. It's fine, nobody cares. It comes out in your voice, it's amazing. You have two things you want to do for your phone interview, besides the regular prepare, ask good questions and things like that. You want to dress for the interview because you behave better if you're dressed more nicely. If you're wearing a t-shirt and sweats, even if you put on, a belt and a collared shirt, I mean, it makes a difference. Stand when you talk. Those are my 2 tips for you about a phone interview that are different. So dress for the interview and stand when you talk. Because if I was slumped in a chair up here talking about this, you guys probably wouldn't be paying attention at all because I'd have zero enthusiasm and you could hear it in my voice. Same thing happens on the phone. So if you're slouched on the couch eating Cheetos, you sound like you're slouched on the couch eating Cheetos. Okay? Especially with the crunchy. But you see what I mean. Definitely research every time. Even with the worst thing you can do is score an informational interview where you start to get your brand out with someone who may not even be hiring, but who may know people who are hiring. Say it's a VP that had your degree from Illinois, and you say, you know what? Your chair is where I want to be in 20 years. Talk to me about how to make that happen. So I had a grad who was a vice president of HR at JCPenney. And I had a girl from Decatur who had never really had a real job besides working on the floor as a sales associate at JCPenney. And I said, okay, I'm going to hook this up for you. Here's the person, reach out, use my name. She did all that, and she got the informational interview. She had no questions. 0 questions. And so this woman wants to help her, because I mean, you'd have to be heartless not to want to help a fellow grad from your school, right? But there's only so much you can do. You need to be ready. You need to be ready with your brand attributes, and you need to be ready to show some innate curiosity. And then they'll feel like they use their time well, and they're going to take your name and they're going to pass it on to whoever they know. Oh, you are looking for an intern. Funny thing happened. A kid from the school that I went to called me the other day, and I was so impressed with his questions. Here's the resume. That's how you get the best jobs right there. Practice. I was thinking the other day, it's funny, I don't even want to admit how long it's been since I've actually interviewed, but I do practice. I help students come up with answers and do those things. You want to practice with your own brand so that when people ask you a question, you're ready with the answers right off the bat. So, STAR method, that one you'll get in your behavioral interviewing workshop. Situation, task, action, result. Biggest mistake we see, you just lose one of the letters, and it's usually the result. Although sometimes, oddly, I get students who forget the situation, and you're like, I think it was a great result, but I don't really know what you were doing, so could you tell me more about that? If they're asking follow-up questions in an interview, think about what kind of questions they're asking. Are they questions because they're curious, or are they questions because you're falling short on delivering your information to them? Now, this first bullet point I used to think was the dumbest, cheesiest thing I'd ever heard in my life. Like, personal board of directors, that just sounds stupid. What are we doing here? But the more you think about it, you probably already have one in place. If you're talking about something that's really technical, related to your major, in many cases, probably your mom isn't the person who you go to for advice on that, right? But she's the person you go to for advice for some other things, like failing at life, like mom, what do I do? This is not going well, like help me. You know, so you have these people. It can be a parent. I have somebody that I go to when I'm really feeling kind of in the weeds on my job, like what do I do about this? I have somebody that I go to when I have a university problem that I need to untangle. Think about them in a little bit more formal way. Use them. Networking. Elizabeth will be here next week to talk to you about that. Get involved in organizations. One of the ways that I'm known in my function is getting involved with a regional organization and a national organization for career services folks. I was on the executive board for a number of years. I was the president. So because of that, I get calls for some other things. So just making sure that you're known and share your knowledge. You'll be seen as a subject matter expert. Online, I mean, I realize you guys would probably put that first. It's invaluable in terms of doing research. It's just, if you're only there, if people aren't meeting you and seeing you face to face and knowing that you're communicating well, you're probably not going to just get over that hump and get the job. All right, I am going to skip forward. I want to talk about, which one is it? Okay, so I have 4 minutes. I want to talk about online presence more than anything. LinkedIn, does anybody here not have a LinkedIn profile? Anybody going to cop to it? Okay. That is a really important place to be. Lots of alumni work at LinkedIn. Anytime you can get in front of one of them and improve your profile, do it, just quickly. There are a lot of ways that you can get cheap or free headshots that are professional. That's one of the things that people are going to judge when they look at this. If you can put a summary that tells a good story, that's personable, that draws people into your brand and draws people into your story, invaluable. And then linking to the right folks. And if I had time, I would show you now. But when you navigate through on connections, you can find out, say that your dream has been to work in human resources in San Francisco. LinkedIn, without the premium account, well, actually, if you say, okay, I want to know about other University of Illinois graduates who are in the San Francisco Bay Area working in HR, it has a slider and it will tell you the exact number. Some of them are not going to be your connection. So what you need to do is start networking so that you're connected to someone like Jenny, someone like myself, thousands of connections. And odds are good that I'm probably going to have a first or second level connection. Your career services person is going to have a first or second level connection. Alumni from your program are going to have a first or second level alumni connection. And if you reach out to that person again and say, hey, I'm so impressed with what you've done, I mean, they're going to make time for you if there's any way they can do it. And if they can't, they're going to talk to you about someone who could. That's the way that you're going to get this done. Facebook and Twitter, you've heard this a million times. You probably, I need to add Instagram and stuff like that. Companies are there. You need to decide how much you want to interact with companies. But even if you don't, realize that if you're there, they're finding you. So if all of your pictures are very inappropriate, even if it's private, if it's online, they're going to get it. So we can argue all day about whether that's good or whether that's bad. But think about it. And I'm not saying like they're going to be horrified to learn that college students drink beer. No, they're not. But if every single picture is a picture related to that, there could be a problem. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Here's a couple, and you guys can't see it in the back. I just have a couple of screenshots that students sent me about fellow students. And again, these are people I'm not linked to, and I still have these. But this guy worked for IBM, and he's posting online. Oh, the job is bumming me out. I need something in Chicago. Things I can bring to the table. Job meetings, training, employee development, consulting, recruiting, compensation, and posting shit on Facebook. Direct quote. Okay, so probably not a great move, and other people who work at IBM saw this, and it ended up in my inbox. Okay, so I'm just giving examples here. Anyway, let's see. I will leave you with my contact information at the end, but I will tell you this. Don't put anything off, because I think it's, how many of you guys are juniors and seniors? Okay. For the rest of you, great job doing the internship. Now, or well, I realize I've got some grad students too. You cannot start too early. So be sure that you're out there now, that you're thinking about this, that you're being purposeful with your brand.